Once again, what's going on, people? It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. Another episode of Get Off the Damn Fence.
Get
I'm
off
one of
the
your
damn
hosts.
fence.
I'm one of your hosts tonight, CT3, also known as Calvin Thomas, joined by my brother. I was going to call you Jay Kells, but I guess I can't do that no more.
It's
My
still okay.
brother, B.A. the Barber.
I
What's
take
going
both.
on?
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
We are a man down this evening. Our brother Larry is somewhere undisclosed. I ain't going to give away his location. But he's somewhere
Swimming with the
undisclosed.
fishes.
He will be back next week. So until then, we're going to hold you down tonight with our NBA, MLB discussion. We got a lot of things to talk about free agency wise. You know, I'm a Lakers fan, so you know it's a little hurtful. No one wants to come to LA right now except for Bronny. We got some things we want to talk about in the Eastern Western Conference, catching up with you on all your NBA free agency talk. But to begin, it is summertime, right? And the boys are back in town.
Outside.
Them O's are back in town. We just talked about them a couple weeks ago. 17-12 in the month of June with 1 day off. Sitting in first place right now. They haven't started playing down there on the West Coast. What more can we say about these O's sitting in first place ahead of the Yankees going into July, going into the All-Star break in a couple weeks? Gunnar Henderson going to be in the home run derby as well, whether you think that's good or bad. But they bring excitement back to Camden Yards. The yard was packed last weekend for that 4-game series against Texas. When they went 3-1, won the series, they had a bad game Sunday night. When you win 3 out of 4, you still win the series. So we want to get started to give them boys their respect before we go into NBA talk. But the boys are back in town, Baltimore Orioles. How you feel about your O's right now, Justin?
Hey, you know what? As a welcoming back fan that I am, you know, it was a proud moment when you realize that they only had 1 day off through the entire month of June, playing pretty much every day. That is tough, man. That was a tough schedule. That was a tough grind. They knew something like that was coming, so they prepared for it as best as they could. You know, we lost some pitches along the way and everything like that, so it wasn't the best. But you know, like I said, that's why we got a great farming league. That's why we're going to have to make some moves. I really, truly believe we are going to make some moves.
Yeah.
And to come out with we had like the third most home runs as a team in Major League Baseball history in the month of June. So, you know, we was definitely doing what we can. We had that little 5-game losing streak, you know, that hurt a little bit, you know. So these are all facts. We're not going to hide away from some of the negative things that happen. But with all that given said, if you would have said, hey, a month ago, you're going to beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
You're going to be number 1 in the AL East. And you're going to all your main infielders and outfield what's his name? Santander.
Santander.
You know, he found his rhythm back. Cedric Mullins said, "Y'all not gonna trade me so easily right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead on and increase my batting average right now." So, you know, if you would have told me that a month ago, I'm like, "Hey, man, that's a win for me." So it's definitely a A+ for the month of June. Let's say an A, that 5-game sweep, losing stretch, but definitely high spirits when it comes to the Baltimore. I got my orange. It's a little. That's not really orange, but I thought I could throw it in some kind of way, right? It wasn't. But, you know, it's all love. It's all love in Baltimore for the Orioles right now.
Look, the O's played, I think their most recent series, they played Atlanta, leading the NL East. They played Philadelphia, leading the NL wild card. Houston, we talked about how they got swept by Houston. Texas, the Yankees, and they won 5 out of those 6 series. You know, won 5 out of those 6. They got swept in once. They're leading the AL East. They had them third most home runs, like you said, in the month of June. Santander hit, 13 in the month of June? You got Gunnar in MVP, should be leading the MVP race right now because of his WAR wins against replacement.
Aaron Judge leads everything else, but we're not going to talk about Aaron Judge right now.
They're not in first place though. So I can't. They're not in first place. You could lead all that stuff, but you ain't committing to winning like my man Gunnar is. Look, it's been a long time coming for these Baltimore Orioles. Just the times that we had, the losing seasons that we had. No one wanted to attend the games. Now they're young, they're exciting, they're flashy. Look. And people want to see them. They were on prime time 2 times over the weekend. Saturday night on Fox, Sunday night on ESPN Baseball. So the whole country got to see these boys. They went 1-1, but you got to see these young players play. You got to see what all the talk is about. You got to see Gunnar Henderson. You got to see Ellie Rushman. You got to see Anthony Santander as well. What more can you say as a Baltimore Orioles fan right now?
you can ask the question, how do you feel about your boy Henderson entering the home run derby?
Look, I'm one of the people that says that can mess up your swing in the second half. That's just my thoughts. That's just how I look at it. Now,
Is it not like a glorified batting practice?
to me, it's not, because you're trying to hit home runs. And batting practice, you can work on different things. You could try to go opposite way. You could just try to pull the ball as much as you can. But here, you're just trying to hit home runs. Like, if you think about how hard it is to swing a bat, like, go out here and swing a bat 8 times, sit down for 10 minutes and do it again. That's tiring. And now, obviously, you want to do that 40, 50 times in the span of 4 or 5 minutes to try to hit these home runs on a time where everyone else is getting a rest. Everyone else gets a 2, 3, 4 day rest because of the All-Star break, but you out here trying to win a home run competition. Look, I'm glad Gunn's in it. I'm glad he'll be wearing the Baltimore Orioles uniform. I just hope that this doesn't affect the second half play, because we're going to need him in the second half. When he's second in the league in home runs right now, behind Aaron Judge, who's having a monster season. But this is your shortstop. It's not your outfielder or your first baseman, one of them power positions. This is your shortstop that's leading the league in home runs. And that's what we're talking about right here in Gunnar Henderson. But I'm one of those people that just thinks that it can affect his swing, so hopefully it doesn't. And hopefully, like I said, Cedric Mullin still continues to play well. Santana continues to play well. And we'll get a couple of these young guys coming up when the roster expands in September as well. But I just hope at some point Gunnar can get back in rhythm and start contributing to Orioles wins. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just think that's what's going to happen. He's going to start in a slump because of the home run derby.
I feel like the youth is on his side, though. What you're saying, you're making great points, but when you're 22, 20, no, actually, I think you just turned 23.
You just 23.
Just turned 23. Happy birthday. If you ever come around seeing this show, happy birthday to you, bro. So that was
a long time ago.
He just turned 23.
No, I'm talking about us turning 23. That was a long time ago.
Oh, I ain't talking about us. I'm talking about, if he happens to see the show. It's not too many black brothers in Baltimore got a podcast talking about the Baltimore Orioles. So
that's true.
That's true. Hopefully he sees this. So yeah, happy birthday. But yeah, I think he's young enough ways though that the fatigue part won't hurt him as much as, let's say, if he was 10 years older or whatever the case may be. So I think he's going to put on a show. I can't wait for it. What is it, like July 12th or something like that? I'm assuming.
I think it's 2 weeks from yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. It's 15.
The 15th. Yeah, I don't think it's not next week. It's 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, bet. So we definitely gonna have another show until then. So yeah, just patiently waiting. They getting it. They had a nice little day off, and they gonna have a little West Coast swing. And I'm just I'm excited. I'm excited moving forward.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited. This is usually at this time in Baltimore we talking about football season. We getting ready for the Ravens season, but now look, we talking about Orioles baseball because of what they did last year, 101 wins. What they did this year, they had 51 at the break, so they're on pace for 102. If they keep that same pace. But we just excited for baseball, excited to have the Orioles back. In my lifetime, I have not seen an Orioles World Series in my lifetime. Never. I've seen 2 Ravens Super Bowls. I've never seen an Orioles World Series. I want to be a part of that. That's something that I want to see. That's probably peak Baltimore sports. We ain't got nothing else without the Ravens and the Orioles. But
and like I said, we try not to mention the Ravens side of things, so it's definitely going to be
a lot of Ravens mentions in the fall. You're going to get used to this. You new to that section. You're going to get used to the Ravens talk. You're going to be the one that's just going to be downplaying the Ravens while myself and Larry just
being 100% objective. That's what you meant to say.
We are objective. You'll see. You'll see.
You guys are not objective.
Moving on, let's keep going to NBA free agency talk. The big free agency talk over the weekend was Paul George leaving the LA Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and joining forces with Joel Embiid in the Eastern Conference. You're a Knicks fan. We just talked about Mikal Bridges last man. I think we broke that story last week because it happened last Tuesday.
That was broke.
So once you hear this, how do you feel about this move? How do you feel about your Knicks competing in the East? Do you feel like your Knicks got knocked down a peg? What's going on in your thoughts as a New York Knicks fan?
Okay, so definitely Paul George is on the radar, right? And I figured that he was going to end up in Philadelphia or maybe Orlando. I knew he was out of LA. But as I said last week, I don't want him on our team. It has nothing to do with who Paul George is. It's just how healthy he's going to be. That's all I cared about. And coming from a season where we went through some injuries, like we just ran out of bodies. the fact that we had enough depth, that's why we went as far as we did. But for this Philly team, they do have a three-headed monster. I'm not knocking anything. If you tell me that they're going to be 100% in April, May, and June, yeah, no doubt. But we know that's not going to happen. We know Joel Embiid is going to limp into the playoffs as he always do. And we know Paul George probably won't be 100% going into the playoffs. And then now, what do you have? They're still trying to fill out their roster. They picked up Aaron Gordon as well. Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
They picked up Andre Drummond. These are quality players. So they definitely picked up a big. So when Joel Embiid is gone, he has someone to, still occupy that role. Of course, it's going to be more Maxey and PG. But, and they re-signed Kelly Oubre. That's honestly, in all honesty, that's what I was kind of concerned about. It wasn't necessarily Paul George. It was Kelly Oubre. He gave Jalen Brunson fits the entire series. And it's players like that I have to look twice at. So, of course, this is turning into a copycat league. So this is, hey, everyone needs a two-wing, two-way player, so on and so forth. Yeah. We saw Boston just win it. So now they have two defensive players, and they can somewhat score. Paul George can score, Kelly Oubre at times. And we did the exact same thing. So when we brought over Mikal and we re-signed OG, this is what we want. We want two-way wings that can score. And then we have Julius coming back off of injury. So, if you mean to tell me that I have a 2010 guy coming back off of injury, all-NBA player at that, my only concern is our big situation. I tried to tell you I wanted Zach Edey. We didn't get him in the draft. He wouldn't. You didn't know that he was going to go as high as Memphis either. I feel like you wasn't expecting that either.
No, I was expecting him to fall to mid. I was expecting the Lakers to have the opportunity to move up from 17 to 14, 15 and get him. I didn't think we were going to go top 10. I didn't see that happen.
So if somebody was going to grab him in that mid-teens, then I damn sure didn't have a shot at the late 20s, early 20s. But at the end of the day, we lost our heart to OKC, and that's a hell of a hiccup on them. So we'll talk about them later. But as long as we get a serviceable backup big that's going to play a lot of starter minutes, because Mitchell Robinson is one of those guys that's forever injured, I think we'd be just fine. I really like our squad. I really like New York. I really like what they did. I really like the help that he got. We picked up the number one Division I leader in assists. We drafted him as well. So he's he can just go right on the bench and just run the show. No pressure. That's what Jalen's for. So, I like what they did. I like how we can contain with Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia coming out making a move. They had no choice. And shout out to Darren Moore. Darren Moore is going to get you a superstar some kind of way. He's done it. As soon as he stepped foot in Houston, he got superstars there, and he continued to do the same thing. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on a PG situation.
Yeah, if you'd asked me this last week, I wouldn't have thought PG was going to Philly. I heard the rumors that James Harden, I guess, had badmouthed Daryl Morey to PG. I don't know if that was an attempt to get him to stay in LA or just give him why he actually left Philly. But I didn't think this was going to happen. And kind of when he opted out, you knew this had to be the issue because it was either there, Orlando, or back to LA. And from every report, the LA relationship with Lawrence Frank had just gotten so bad because how they treated his most recent contract situation where they try to separate him from Kawhi, get them to take less money because the second apron, they were just scared of all of that. But the move for Philly, they had to make this move because I think Boston was continuing to stay ahead of them. New York had jumped ahead of them. You can make the argument that Indiana was already ahead of them as well. So they were falling further and further behind the Eastern Conference. And now they pick up a major move. They probably pick up the best free agent in this class, not counting LeBron, because no one thought LeBron was leaving. They pick up the best free agent in this class. They pick up another scorer and someone that can score the ball when Embiid does not play. Now, like you said, it still comes down to Embiid being healthy for 65, 70 games. If he's not healthy in April and May, they still don't have a chance. But if he's healthy in April and May, along with PG and Maxey, they have as good a chance of anyone to get out of the East. And you can make an argument in certain situations, even against Boston, even against New York, where they'll have the best two players on the floor. Because if you get the best of PG, and he doesn't have to be a reliable scorer and also defend your toughest opponent on the wing, he gets the chance to just kind of go do what he does. PG was a legit scorer back in the day. We talking about like this guy wasn't, wasn't top 3 in MVP. Granted, it was 5 years ago, and he's had injuries, but he's still PG 13. He still has that consistent jumper. He still can get any shot he wants to. He still can get to the basket. For the next couple years, I like this move. Now, as he gets older, I didn't realize he was 34, which is something completely different. As he gets older, you're going to rely more on Maxey and Embiid, and Embiid's even 30. But in the initial year, you're going to get all of PG. Now, hopefully he's all in. I know they gave him the most money, and he was kind of hesitant to leave LA. He wanted to be out in LA. But sometimes you got to get uncomfortable to get what you want. If you really want a ring, he got the money. Now all he has to do is get a ring and bring that ring to Philly. You bring a ring to Philly, and they haven't won in what, 50, 60 years?
80s. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, early 80s. That's still 40 years. You bring a ring to Philly, you're a legend. You're a legend in Philly streets, and you can get whatever you want in Philly. So I think he has the opportunity to do that. I think he'll be an intricate part, and it'll be interesting to see how the playoff matchups, shake themselves out next April. You got Boston, you got New York, you got Philly. The top of the East is a whole lot better than it was this past season. It's a whole lot better. Speaking of other free agency moves, we got another sharpshooter that's leaving Golden State and going to Dallas. Klay Thompson has decided to take his talents to Dallas over LA. That's a whole nother situation. And join the Dallas Mavericks. So I'll say this from the start. I don't like the move for him. I don't think it's the best move he can make. That's just my opinion. I think he could have gone to a better situation where he can utilize his talents being a spot-up shooter and being someone who doesn't have to take a lot of dribbles to get a shot. Say what?
Like where?
Like LA. Point blank period. Like LA. I mean, I think Luka and Kyrie, awesome guards, awesome on the ball. Now, granted, if you look at this Celtics series, what they missed was a spot-up shooter, but I just don't think they can. I don't know. Jason Kidd being a point guard, he can put Klay in a position to get the ball and get his shots. But I think JJ Redick, I think LeBron, AD could have done that better. Now, if you listen to the reports, LA offered them more money, but it was just the fact they couldn't get a deal done with the Warriors to trade for him, which is what it kind of seems like to me. And that's why ultimately he went to Dallas, because the Golden State didn't want to accept D'Angelo Russell in a trade for Klay Thompson, if you listen to the rumors. So I'm not saying that LA couldn't get Klay. It just seemed like Golden State couldn't make it work for whatever reason. But Klay and Dallas, I don't think that puts them over the top to win a title, especially in the tough Western Conference where the Grizzlies got better, where Houston's going to get more mature and get better, where Wemby has a point guard, and we think Wemby could be an MVP candidate in 2-3 years. You still have Denver, you still have Phoenix, you still have Minnesota, like you still have Oklahoma City who got better as well. I don't know if this move puts you over the top, but
you just said that this same team went to the finals, right?
Yeah.
This same team went to the finals, and the one thing they was lacking was shooting, so they filled that gap, and they got worse.
I can say Oklahoma City was missing rebounding, and they got that, and they got better as well. So it's the same difference, in my opinion.
Understood.
But what are your thoughts on Klay and Dallas?
With that being said, I believe they got worse. So this whole thing, and we just talked about it in the previous segment, was having bona fide two-way players, right? And they got rid of, or they let Derrick Jones Jr. go.
Yeah, he went to LA.
He signed with the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So, and I'm like, okay, so you get rid of him. He was the one that was guarding Shea. He was the one that was guarding Anthony Edwards. He was taking on the best perimeter player. Then you had PJ taking on the best skill big, whichever that person could be. I mean, he completely locked down Cat. So when I hear that, and I'm saying, okay, you got rid of him and you brought in someone that is coming in with a vengeance, but he's also highly emotional. I don't know how good Klay is going to be. I don't know how good he's going to be in a new system. Is he going to have the same shots as he did in Golden State? Is he going to feel comfortable? Is he going to, let's say, if he has bad games, will he get too down on himself because he's putting so much pressure on himself? This is the type of person that Klay is. This is what they was dealing with in Golden State. We saw his meltdowns when he was just, throwing little mini tantrums to himself. He did nothing that was crazy, but you you can see it. You can see it. It's on his face. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. So you mean to tell me if I'm Anthony Edwards and I look at this team and and I look at this team and I see Luka on one side, I see Clay on one side, and I see Kyle on up. Meet me at the basket, bro. Like none of y'all dudes are stopping me. So I just think that I love the fact that they tried to address an issue that they had, and that they picked the best person for that. But I think you might be giving up a little bit too much defensively, and I think that was a part of the issue. I don't think Clay can get back into his chair that he did back when he was in Golden State during his younger years. We got Kyrie being another year older, and Kyle played phenomenal defensively, best as I've seen in quite some time. But he needs to do that thing throughout the entire season and in the postseason. That's asking a lot for someone that's getting up there. And Luka, we already know about his defensive struggles, and I really hope that he takes his off season to really get into the utmost physical condition. I don't think he should do too much with the Olympics. He should just leave that alone and just focus on his body and get that right. Because this is the gauntlet that you're setting yourself up for. You just did it. You just seen it. You've seen what it takes to get to that point. And I just don't want them to forget about what got them there. When they brought over PJ, when they brought over the other big, and you saw their increase in defensive rating, they was probably the number one defensive team heading into the postseason, post trades. So I was like, okay, y'all got something here. I would have just hoped that Derrick Jones Jr. got better with his threes. I would have hoped that that PJ Washington got better with his threes. I would have hoped that they would have took the offseason to get better. Then I wouldn't have to make that much of a move to go get Clay. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens, man. We're gonna see what happens. I like Clay. Like I say, he's a fiery dude, fiery light-skinned brother. And we'll see if he can ride it out. So Jason Kidd did the same thing. Jason Kidd did the same thing. He left Jersey, went over to Dallas, and won them a championship with Dirk. So. I don't like the fact that they got rid of Josh Green. I thought that he was going to be on the up and up a little bit more than what he was. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I expect Dallas to be a definitely in the Final Four, but we'll see.
In the West overall,
it definitely in the West. I'll say that for sure first.
Okay, and that kind of segues into our next topic. We're going to hit the Eastern Conference first. And we're gonna come back to that comment that you just made. But just looking at the upgrades that the Eastern Conference has made, how would you rank these teams now? I think Boston's still at the top until they're beaten until something else happens. But how do you rank the teams behind them? I know you're a Knicks fan. I know you're high on the Mikal Bridges move, probably more so than any other move in the Eastern Conference. But
when you say
Dame is back in the lab getting healthy.
Are we saying the last, who's going to be the best in the regular season? How do you want me to rank?
I'm saying right now. Because I don't want to forecast the playoffs, because forecasting the playoffs is too far ahead. I'm saying right now, if you power rank these teams, power rank the Eastern Conference, just your top four. I think we don't need to go past that unless you look at unless you really like Indiana or you really like Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell staying. But just power rank these Eastern Conference teams and why you have that order.
I think it's going to play out similar to how it played out last year. I believe Boston is going to have a significant lead on the East. Not like they did this year, but I think they end up being number one again. They're just too talented, man, across the board. But with that being said, too, New York kind of came in and stole number two. I think that they just flat out get the number 2 seed. I think that they're going to play more, just a little bit more free. They have a lot of body, so we can go through a lot of injuries. So I think they'll stay at number 2. I just don't know about Philly. They're injury away from dropping just like they did this past season, even with Paul George. Both of them dudes might get. See, I'm trying to give you like a straight answer, but the injury thing for them is you're right. Get off the goddamn fence. So with that being said, Milwaukee number 3, for sure, and then I'll say Philly number 4, but they have the potential to be the second best.
Okay. I don't know if Boston is going to be as hungry. This is the first time we've seen Boston win with this young core. I don't know if they're going to be as hungry to prove that they can win again in the regular season. And we know
You think they
KP
was
has
hungry
been
last
injured.
year?
Say that again.
You think they was hungry last year?
I think they were hungry last year. Yes, I don't know, but I gotta see how they come back off of winning. When you go with
Okay.
what they win 65-17, something like that in the regular season, they won the Eastern Conference by
Yeah.
10 games. I think they were just hungry to prove that they should have been in the finals last year. They should have beaten Miami, and I think that's why they just came out guns blazing. But now you look at KP's a year older, look at Drew Holiday's a year older, and KP's been banged up his entire career. So do you try to rest him and protect him throughout the regular season? Does that cost you a couple games? New York, we know they're going to play hard each and every night, especially for Tibbs. And they are probably as deep as they've ever Tibbs coach team has ever been. And I think if those guys come in shape and come in healthy, they could get a good 3-4 game lead by All-Star break over Boston. Philly, are they going to be healthy? I think that's really it. If they're going to be healthy, and can I rely on Embiid? Someone else should be playing the Olympics as well. I need you to be ready for regular season, not ready to win a gold medal when you haven't done anything in the NBA. So Embiid does need to be in the Olympics as well. And going back to Milwaukee, I think Dame is still. Dame had that whole. I don't know if you saw. I think it was on Bill Simmons' podcast where Doc basically said that Dame said that he did not practice or did not work out over the entire summer because he was worried about getting injured prior to being traded. I guess he was trying to make an excuse why he had a poor regular season. So if that's the case, and I'm just going to hold Dame to his word, if that's the case and Dame comes out guns blazing and Giannis is healthy and you get a healthy Chris Middleton at least to start the year, I think it's going to be a lot closer race. I will probably have the Knicks. I'll probably be the Knicks number one. I think they want to prove that they are for real. They're going to prove it in the regular season. Tibbs are going to play those guys to win each and every game. And I think I would have them finishing first in the Eastern Conference. Then I'll have Boston. Then I'll have Milwaukee, and then I'll have Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia's going to take some time to gel. I think, Paul George and Embiid can kind of be in and out of the lineup. So therefore, you're going to lose a couple games there. But I think the Knicks going to, if I have the power ranking right now, I got the Knicks number one. Those guys want to play together. I think Randall's eager to prove that he's healthy. The only thing I worry about is Mitchell Robinson. Y'all need a backup center. Mitchell Robinson's been in and out on him too much. But I think he's the best person in the Eastern Conference to guard Embiid. Horford's gotten older, and I think with that, that's the only concern I have about the Knicks.
And pause. And that's why I wasn't worried about Al-Hart. I realized that the New York faithful loved Al-Hart, and I hear you. But I remember that playoff series, and I think New Yorkers might have a short-term memory, like they just don't remember things that just happened. Like I remember Joel Embiid dominating Al-Hart. He was not dominating Mitchell Robinson. Matter of fact, he had to take Mitchell Robinson with the ankle lock. He had to get him out of there so he could dominate. That's what happened. Like I'm not going to see like that didn't happen. So if you tell me like, oh, who did you really want? I was like, as soon as Paul George signed with Philadelphia, I said, yo, we need to keep Mitchell Robinson. Period. Because we don't have a chance if you would have told me that it's Al-Hart the entire series. And B would average 40.
Do you think he's going to be healthy enough in April and May? That's the only concern I have. You got to get a backup center.
So we looking at some pieces out there. I'm not saying that we're not. Leon Rose is going to do his thing. He hasn't failed too much as of late. But with that being said, we picked up a rookie in the draft, 7-footer that's been playing in Australia the last couple of years. He should have came out 2 years ago, but he had an injury, so they pushed him back 2 more years. So he's a little bit more mature than the average rookie. Ariel Haporti. That's probably not how you pronounce his last name, but you will remember his name throughout the regular season. I'm not worried about it. Let's just say I'm just not worried about it. I believe that we can maneuver lineups. There's a lot of teams playing smaller ball, so Julius has no other choice. He might play some 5. So if you mean to tell me that I can have a Julius, OG, Mikal, JB, and let's say Dante, or if Julius playing a 5, it'll be Josh Hart for his rebounding. I'm okay with that. We can win some games with that. So, yeah, I'm not really worried. So, yes, if you were to tell me, like, if I can have it my way, Mitchell Robinson, take as long as you want, bro. If you're feeling nicked up, set out. You'll be back. As long as you're back for that Philadelphia series, that's all I care about. because we might see
I
him.
mean, I do think that's one of the benefits of being in the East. You really don't worry about Embiid. Your other centers, Jared Allen, not really a threat to score or Giannis is going to have to play some stretch five. So you can really get away with playing, like you said, playing Randall at the five. So I agree with you on that. Let's move on to the Western Conference. Let's have the same conversation. How do you rank these teams? What's your power ranking for these teams going forward? This graphic doesn't even take in the mention Denver, and they were the defending champs. And I don't have them top. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have them top four as well. But how do you rank these teams in the West? Just power ranking right now, just based on what has occurred in free agency.
I think that just from the outside looking in, this is very, 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 very early. And the moves aren't finished being done. But if you can tell me, I believe you with Denver. They have not gotten enough solid pieces, like complementary role playing pieces. And I think I think this is the year that you kind of see it. So I believe Denver drops. And who knows if Jamal Murray is going to be healthy throughout the course of a whole season. But like I said, drop to 5. With that being said, within 5 games from the number 1 seed. Let's put it in perspective. But for the 4 teams that you put up there, I see Memphis. I don't know if Memphis. We gotta see what Ja does. I would expect Ja to be the regular Ja. Are we gonna get like a more mature Ja? Is a more mature Ja bad for the NBA? These are questions I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There was a story I heard on Gil's Arena one time that he was talking about Allen Iverson. It was either him or King Monk was talking about Allen Iverson. And Allen Iverson was like, he was going out partying every night doing this thing, averaging 40 like it was nothing, at high 30s. Yeah. He said, you know what? I'm going to stop. No more drinking. He did that. His stuff plummeted. His stats plummeted. You know what I'm saying? So it's a part of him, right? That's like telling MJ not to gamble. It's a part of him. So
not to play 36 holes before games.
Now you're telling Ja not to shoot up the club or whatever the kid, whatever he does,
literally
put the guns down. That's not Ja, So I don't know how he's going to be. I hope that he's the same player. But with that, I have Dallas finally being a top tier team. What I mean by that is top 3. They're going to be in the top 3. I think they'll be able to weather the storm because somebody's going to get hurt. Kai is usually the one that gets hurt. I think he missed about 20 to 30 games last year. More like 20. I feel like Luka is just. I feel like this is the year that Luka gets his final MVP, right? I think he's not finals MVP. He finally gets an MVP. So, but he got to have a top tier team. So he got to be like 1, 2, 3. So I feel like he's going to have that. I feel like Minnesota's going to be right there next to him. I feel like OKC, they just play hard, man. I love the fact that they got hard to balance Chet and what he can do, so he can play off ball, off the bigs, and whatever the case may be. So he's basically Chet's going to be a roamer. So OKC might return to number 1, based off of Shea just driving that ship, and they got Alex Caruso. God, they made some great offseason moves. Yeah, they did. OKC, I got Dallas, and I got Minnesota being number 3. Shout out to Anthony Edwards just being Anthony Edwards, and they got the Rob Dillinger from the draft. Like, he was probably the best one-on-one player in the draft. Yeah, you know what? They had to. I see the joint. They had to pay hard. They had to get somebody to balance off of Chet. That was imperative. You've seen the series with Dallas. They was getting destroyed inside with them with Dallas's bigs. So they definitely needed some assistance. So they paid what they paid, So hopefully the white black guy can perform well for him. He got a black daddy. I don't know. So with that being said, like I said, the West is wide open. Who I don't care about? I don't care about the Lakers. Not this year. I'm sorry. I don't care about Golden State. I really don't like the way they did Clay. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. They sat there and gave Draymond all that money. They gave Wiggins that money. They gave Jordan Poole that money, and then he got knocked out, and then they shipped him out. Like, they did a lot of things, and they just said, Clay, Deuces, right?
Look, I was I was arguing with someone on Facebook. They're a Golden State fan. They said, "Look, we can't pay Clay X, Y, Z." I'm like, "Look, you realize you basically you signed Jordan Poole and traded him for nothing when you released CP3, and you're gonna let Clay walk. So Draymond destroyed your team, and you can't give Clay a farewell tour. You're not gonna win regardless of what move you make. Let Clay get the farewell tour. That's what those three deserve to go out together." That's my goal. That's my Golden State rant. But just going back to Western Conference, I got OKC number 1 as well. You get Caruso, you get Ahard, and you don't give up a draft pick. How do you do that? How do the teams making those deals don't get some of the OKC draft picks from Phoenix, from LA, from Houston, from every other team that they've traded with over the last 4 or 5 years? How don't you get a draft pick from this team that has 15 first-round draft picks over the next 4 or 5 years? It makes no sense. So they can still make a big move if they need to. Minnesota number 2. I like the move they did getting that young guy in the draft from San Antonio. I don't understand what San Antonio is really doing unless he's just trying to tank the Cooper flag. But we'll see in a couple months when the season starts. I got Dallas 3 as well, and surprisingly 4. I got New Orleans. I like the DeJounte Murray move.
I had Dallas number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said 3. I got Dallas 3, and I got New Orleans 4 because I like the DeJounte Murray move. I'm interested to see what they do with BI.
You think they keep Brandon though?
I don't see a move for him to be made. So yes, because and as free agency goes, it's fewer and fewer teams that are going to be able to trade for him. They was talk about, I think, was it Sacramento between him and Levine, but I don't see what you get back from Sacramento that helps New Orleans win right now. And so I think you have to agree to pay him, and you got to go point forward with Zion. And that was the best stretch of basketball that you had with Zion and Brandon Ingram. When you went point forward with Zion, kind of run the offense through him. I like DeJounte because he can guard the best guard on the opposing team. You still have CJ. You lose Valanciunas as well, which I don't really understand. But I think they got the big guy as well that Valanciunas is back. I can't remember his name right now. But I like New Orleans. If Zion can stay healthy, a big if. I kind of like the way that they can play.
So Zion can play point.
But I think the problem with Trey, it was so ball dominant. But I think with a Zion and DeJounte Murray, you can kind of go back and forth with who you run the offense through. And I like Zion with point forward because not too many forwards can guard him straight up. And then DeJounte, who has a different change of gear, and you have a bigger, faster point guard than you had with CJ, who kind of slowly ran the offense. I think that a more up-tempo offense will benefit New Orleans.
Correct.
So that's just I think I like them. I need to see what they do with this BI move. It's concerning because at this point you have to kind of make amends. You got to bring him back. You got to sign him, and he wants the max. You can't give him the max. They're just going back and forth. So there aren't many moves to be made right now to get rid of BI and get someone in his place that's competent or can at least give you the productivity that he gave you. So you got to make good with him. What else can you do? I don't see a move out there for them right now at this point in free agency. He's not going back to LA in any capacity. Kawhi's not asking for a trade. Going to the East, who's going to make that move? There's no way he can go. So you got to go back. He's got to go back to New Orleans, in my opinion.
Right, and I seen what my man King post. And shout out, my man King is calm man. He's the co-host of We Talk Maps. Him and a dude named Rel. They invited me on that podcast a couple years ago when Luka had one of his greatest games of all time. So I just want to give him a shout out. And yes, they did lose that, and I think they lost Najee to y'all to Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. But you know what So I believe in DeJounte. Yeah. I don't know why. Like I still will want DeJounte on my team some kind of way. Not right now, but I really did for a period of time on New York. So I believe in San Antonio DeJounte. I think that DeJounte is coming back. If you mean to tell me that I have that DeJounte coming back to kind of help guide the ship that is the Pelicans and make maybe Zion more of a finisher than maybe a playmaker. I just push back on your playmaker part for Zion. I just want him to finish. And I think DeJounte can put him in a position where he can finish. So, yeah, I do like the Pelicans. Any love for Phoenix?
No. They done.
Fact.
I'm assuming this is if this is about New Orleans, then yeah, because like you said, Zion's been hurt, BI's been hurt, CJ's getting up there. that's just a rotating door, and we see what happens when they get to the playoffs and they don't have those guys. They don't make it far. But going back to the DeJounte point, like I think Atlanta got him, put him in a bad place because it was almost your turn, my turn. No one played defense, and it was Trae Young's show, but it was just DeJounte playing sidekick. And I think when you go back to the brand of basketball he was playing in San Antonio, he was the lead guard. He was playing defense, and I think that's the success that he has. And I don't know if Brandon Ingram can necessarily fit in that offense because I feel like he has to be put in a position to score. He can't create his own shots like Zion can with point Zion, or even DeJounte get to the bucket whenever he did. And CJ was more so a point guard, a shooting guard that was playing point guard just by design of the offense. And then when you kind of went to the bench, they didn't have those guys that put BI in a position to score baskets as well. So I don't – that's a dynamic which I'm not 100% sure about, but I don't see where BI can go and how you can replace his productivity right now. Unless there's a move that can be made that I don't see, but going into next year, you can't replace that productivity. And if you trade him for like Zach LaVine, you're losing out on the trade unless you're getting some draft capital from Chicago, and that doesn't help you win next year either. So we ran through the East. Oh, you don't want to talk about Phoenix
though? Before you go there,
Phoenix is.
They got a whole offseason together.
Phoenix,
they done?
It doesn't matter. What is the whole offseason going to do that didn't do last year? They got a whole offseason. Their best two players are going to be playing the Olympics once again. Your oldest player in Kevin Durant, the best player on your team, is going to be playing the Olympics again, so he's not going to have a break. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Y'all got the. It doesn't matter to me. It does nothing. And I hope, and I'm not saying go ahead and trade for him or go ahead and trade and go to Houston, whatever case may be. I'm just saying that after next year, you're going to be seeing what happens when the league gets younger because you got Memphis, you got Minnesota, you got Oklahoma City. Are you beating any of those 3 teams 4 out of 7 games? And we didn't even talk about Denver. We haven't mentioned Denver, who has probably the best player in the league in some people's circumstances. And we didn't even talk about them because they lose KCP and they're trying to get Russell Westbrook, and I don't see how that's going to help them as well. So I think their championship window can be closed as well. We're talking about a whole new group of teams in the Western Conference, and I'm excited about it. I haven't even mentioned the Lakers yet, or they're inept of how they can't sign anybody. Damn, Mike Dunleavy would not accept that trade. Clay should be in LA right now. It's a whole nother situation. We're going to move on. The Boston Celtics recently, they just inked Jason Tatum to a new 5-year extension, $315 million, highest contract, most money guaranteed in NBA history. Just last year, they signed Jaylen Brown to the what's now the second highest paid contract, 5 years, $285 million. Drew Holiday got a $130 million contract. Derek White got a $130 million contract. KP signed an extension over the course of the year. In total, they have guaranteed $939 million to these 5 players listed on your screen right here. Where are they getting this money from? We talked about first, second April last year. They're keeping this court. It seems to reward teams that draft well and sign guys and then have those guys flourish in that system. What can be done to stop the Boston Celtics from going back-to-back when they have all 5 guys returning, you have your bench, and you arguably have an up-and-coming coach, not even mentioned probably one of the best assistant coaches in Sam Cassell as well?
You know what? So this is simultaneously right along with the fact that the owner is willing to sell the team. He wants to sell the team. Yeah, so what did he do? Too. Basically, because they to answer your question, the other thing has to be said. They are paying anybody that they can. They are going into luxury galore. They're probably hundreds of $millions in the upcoming years in luxury tax. And he doesn't care because he doesn't want the team. The team is worth billions. Come in, buy the team, deal with that. He still want to be the operations guy. So I'm not even like he wants the best of both worlds. He wants another owner, another group of owners, or whatever the case may be, to flip this bill. So what you're saying is, why is it like how they can do whatever they want to. They can extend Tatum. They could extend JB, and that's what they did. They maxed those dudes out. That's what you get from having homegrown talent. And then they had money to get other people, and gave them the money. So with that being said, they did all those things in a 4 or 5 year window for the upcoming future for somebody else to pay. It's one of the smoothest moves I've ever seen. Like, yo, this team is going to be made in the runnings of a championship for the next 4 years. Like, legitly, as long as JB doesn't ask for a trade out, as long as JT doesn't ask for a trade out, if I got those two and high level role players around them, they're going to be championship contenders. Who doesn't want that? What does it do for the city of Boston, and brings the city of Boston money on a regular basis and things like that? It's similar to the LeBron effect. Outside of the Cleveland arena, everything else flourished around them. This is what's going on in Boston right now. So with them being in the Atlantic Division, which I think is the toughest division in the NBA because it's them in New York and Philadelphia, I believe he's just saying, you know what, the hell with it. Let somebody else foot the bill.
Look, I just looked up. Wick Grusbeck is the owner or the chair, or however you want to phrase it, of the Boston Celtics. He bought him for $360 million in 2002. That number is easily 10x right now. They're easily $3 billion coming off a championship in the city of Boston with your Finals MVP and arguably the best player on your team, Jason Tatum, tied up for the next 4 or 5 years as well. You have a perennial championship contender. Someone's going to pay top dollar in a major market like Boston to own that team. And like you said, the timing is perfect. You win the title, you re-sign all these guys. You don't care about the bill. You don't care about the money coming out. You about the 10x your money, 10x the money that you paid.
Worth $5 billion as according to Google, right, as of today. $5 billion.
10x the money is more than that.
That's crazy.
It ain't too many people got $5 billion floating around that they're willing to spend. And it's interesting because we haven't talked about this on the show yet, but there's been NBA expansion talk going into going into Vegas and Seattle, potentially in a couple years. And there's talk about those franchises and those markets are going to generate $4 and $5 billion a piece as well. When you get into it, basically they're not going to be a part of the sharing of profits initially until the new CBA kicks in. So that's part of the reason why they're trying to kick this down the road. They get this new TV money in, and they're going to get the owners are going to split this $9-10 billion, and then those two markets aren't going to generate any of that income until new CBA comes in. But just the money getting thrown around for these teams is just astonishing. And we know who's talking about who's going to be a part of the ownership group in Vegas. That's no surprise right at this point. Seattle, I think, is still up in the air. And if you don't know what I'm talking about LeBron and the ownership from is it Liverpool? Is that the soccer team that he's
part owner of? His soccer affiliation with, but yes, he is bringing up somebody from the soccer league.
Correct. So my point is the money being thrown around for these teams is astonishing. I don't understand if you're Wick, outside of just wanting to go retire as a billionaire, why do you sell this product? You have a winning organization. You're in a winning city where you have the Bruins and you have the Red Sox and you have the New England Patriots, all teams that have won championships this century. Why do you want to give that up? That's my biggest gripe. I don't know why. You can have the best of both worlds. You can be a millionaire and have this billionaire product and continue to win and continue to raise your value in other business dealings. Why give that up?
Because you let somebody else pay the luxury tax, so you ain't got to lose money. And then you get the money that you get from selling the team. You got to get out eventually. You gotta. He brought it for $360 million. You mean to tell me that I'm selling it for $5 billion? I'm okay with that. That's a hell of a profit. So I think he says, I don't want to pay no luxury tax. I don't want to pay no fines. I don't want to pay nothing. Nada. Let me get out of here. He still wants to control basketball operations, which is crazy. That's crazy to me. Like, how do you want to sell the team and then still want to?
Mark Cuban did that, right?
Hold the trophy.
Mark Cuban did that.
I'm not 100% about Mark Cuban. I just know that Nico came through and just taking over everything when it comes to personnel decisions. And some people say Nico we trust like he's God or something. But so it's a beautiful thing, man. The money's being thrown around. It's just a lot of guarantees money, and unlike the NFL, they seem to can't get a guaranteed contract, but they trying. They ain't trying good enough.
So we're gonna wrap up this evening. But what's your last thoughts? What are you looking forward to? What are your last thoughts? I'll go first. I haven't touched on it yet. Why the hell can the Lakers sign a free agent? I've seen people be given away for pennies on the dollar the last 2-3 years, but it's always a tax when when someone wants to come to LA and play for the Lakers. It's starting to get on my damn nerves. It's at the point where I can just tell it's a bias against the purple and gold. You don't want us to get number 18.
It's a
I understand.
They let y'all get the in-season trophy.
It's a bias. They don't want us to get number 18, as I said. Clay was offered more money by the Lakers than he was by the Mavs, but the Warriors did not want to take on a contract, or they would not want to take on the assets that the Lakers were going to offer them to take on Clay. Why does it matter? Because they're in the same division. Now, I'll say that it was a Laker tax because they're in the same division. So now the Lakers we're looking at Cam Johnson from Brooklyn, who I have no problem with as well. But I'm just tired of the Laker tax and the ineptitude. I don't want to say the ineptitude of Rob Pelinka to sign key free agents. So we go into the next season with the same team we had last season, and we're going to expect anything different than a damn 7 seed or a 7 seed and an in-season tournament win. Like, we hang those banners for a reason. That in-season tournament banner does not deserve to be hung in Staples Center. I'm not calling it crypto. It's Staples. It's always going to be Staples. I'm in my old man mode. It's Staples Arena, not goddamn Crypto Arena. It's just frustrating.
Get that look off your face. You look
frustrated.
Get the look off your face.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I get to go on my monologue right now.
I will not let you tie Shaq and Kobe's legacy to this putridness of a franchise that you're dealing with now. It is the crypto for a reason. Don't you bring Staples involved in this.
It's the Staples Center. This was Bryant to Shaq. This was 81 points. This is 40,000 points. This is all of that. This is crypto. I'm sorry, it's Staples.
You got Bronny James, right? He's your future, right? That's some positives, right?
He's gonna be playing for that Vegas team in a couple of years, like I said.
You got JJ. He's your future. You know what I'm saying? You got to trust JJ.
Can he still shoot?
He ain't got to shoot. He gonna tell y'all when to shoot. That's what he gonna do. That's his job now. You know, y'all picked up the white boy in the draft. That felt
I do like him. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna be all right, man. Y'all gonna be all right. Anthony Davis gonna get hurt though. He's gonna this the year he gonna get hurt again. You know, you can't go too far without Anthony Davis getting hurt, right? So he's definitely gonna get hurt. That's one.
I think they should trade him. Start over.
Why?
In Oklahoma City. Start over.
You can't start over. You need superstars. You need plural.
Okay. Go get some picks. Oklahoma City got 15 picks. Give me 5 of them.
You ain't had nobody in the draft to pick this year.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about going in the future. I wasn't talking about this year. I'm talking about the future. The next 2 drafts supposed to be better. Give me some picks.
You're not getting Cooper, so it don't matter.
I mean, no, you can't. Technically, you can't because they owe that pick to New Orleans. So technically, no. Technically, no.
Yo, how many more picks going to New Orleans?
This is the last one. They had the right to take the 24 one, or they could have pushed the swap back 1 year to 25. So this is the last pick. Unlike, LA Clippers still owe Oklahoma City next year's pick and 1 more pick swap for Paul George. And he in Philly right now. So it ain't as bad as it could be. So I ain't mad.
You know what? So my thing is, right, it's gonna be similar to yours, but different part of town. The Clippers, what are you doing? What is going on? You gave up all these assets and then you let Paul George go. That was you let go your assets. They're gone. Like, they're going with him. You brought him in with Kawhi. I'm gonna give up all these assets. I'm gonna give all these draft picks and everything like that. And now you don't have him, and he's gone. And now your team is led by James Harden. It was word on the street, rumor mill, that Paul George had a problem with James Harden.
I heard that.
Paul George didn't like the way that the offense was flowing around. Not because of Ty Lue. Ty Lue had to play who he plays. James Harden has a particular style. You just heard him say it a couple months ago. He is the system. The system is what he is. He doesn't go with what you say. I am him. So I'm like, you brought this dude over. lures Spank, hey man, was this the right move? Is it working out? So you let Paul George go, and now you just got, Derrick Jones Jr. I like that kid. You got Kawhi, which is going to miss 40% of the season.
Yeah.
And then you got James, which is getting up there in age too. Like, what's going? You going to the Inglewood? You going to a whole new stadium, a whole new arena? Like, what are you doing? Like, that just blows my mind. Like, you could have did so much more, and you let it slip out your hand.
You agree that they basically chose James Harden over Paul George?
That's what they did. They paid him.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. Well, I'll say he took in his mind, he probably took a pay cut, but there's no world where I thought James Harden was better than Paul George last year, or the year before. I don't think James Harden's been better than Paul George since he was playing for the Houston Rockets.
The only thing is that because Kawhi is who he is, it works. James Harden, in my opinion, and Kawhi works together. They might not be the best right now, but you give them another season, which you're going to see in the future. Like they are older, but James Harden is still that system. James Harden still can control the offense, and Kawhi doesn't need anybody else. He is like a plug and play dude. That's why it works. The main person that was taking effects of that was Paul George. He was the one that was like isolated on. You saw how many corner threes he was shooting up just because he was just like
he was a spot up shooter in offense because of James Harden.
Exactly, that's the problem. So I'm interested in seeing what they do this upcoming year. But I mean, every time the Clippers have the franchise, the city of LA in their hands, they just let it go. They let it go. They did it with CP and them boys, and they're doing it again. They just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know next week when we come back on here, I think Team USA starts practice next week, next Tuesday or Wednesday. And then they're scrimmage. They start scrimmaging in Vegas the week after that. So that'll be another topic we can talk about next week. Actually, is the team that we thought was going to be in Paris. They're actually going to play, including Kawhi, who's on that team, shouldn't be playing, including Embiid. Would there be any more additions? Will Kyrie get on and get that color be on the team? I guess at this point it could be a little too late, but so that's
the show for the night.
Yeah,
like you said, next week I feel like we're gonna cover some more Olympics. I feel like we're gonna put that. I'm putting it out there now. We're gonna go with some Olympic trials and things like that, just so we can guarantee this upcoming Olympic season.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about what's the little thing when you be running but you can't run. You gotta do the little slow walk, the sway, that little thing, and that's the Olympic.
You talking about speed walking?
Speed walking, yes.
We are not going to discuss speed walking on this show.
It's hilarious.
We are not going to discuss speed walking on this show. Hey, man, they got us talking about speed walking on the show.
I think we gotta get the people they want. We gotta get the people what they want. But no, look. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. We're going to be whole next week. Until then, Justin and I held the fort down. We appreciate everybody that tuned in, all the comments coming in. I didn't want to post the anti-Knicks comments. Justin was on the road, so I was going to let him be for the night. But
it should be. The whole world should be supporting the Knicks, to be honest with you.
But, as always, we appreciate you. We check y'all again next week. Until next week. I'm Calvin, aka CT3. My brother Jay Kells. I still call him Jay Kells. It's a long story. I'm working on my system. I'm working on my system. See y'all next week.